Great. Okay, so I am Tracy Kalech. Hi, everybody. Some of you I know and some I'm meeting for the first time, so welcome. I see a lot of states that are not in the consortium, so I'm really happy that you're with us today to learn a little bit more about the ISOC resources. So I'm going to stop sharing my video and I'm going to pull up my presentation. We're going to be working with both the PowerPoint and I'm going to be visiting the website. So I have a lot of really fun things to show you. If at any time you have questions, pop them in the chat or just let me know. I believe you have the capability to unmute yourselves. So I really want to hear from you. So as I put in the chat box, I am Tracy Kalech. I'm the director of ISOC, Instructional Services for Out of School and Secondary Youth. For those of you who are new to learning about ISOC, welcome. For the past several years, we have been focused solely on supporting out of school youth. And the past 2 years, we have shifted our focus along the continuum to support secondary students at risk of dropping out. So we really wanted to look at not only the needs of our out of school youth, but hopefully preventing any secondary students at risk of dropping out from actually dropping out. So I'll show you some resources today. I'm really tasked with looking at ways to use these important resources that allow you to serve students in ways that are authentic and meet them where they are. And I'm going to show you how to make modifications and adjustments as well, because we know how crucial it really is to find and recruit not just OSY, but any migratory student and family. As I mentioned, I'm going to share with you some resources that you can use with OSY, since we know time is of the utmost importance when you're recruiting. And we have some new materials that really haven't been fully released yet. Some are on our website and some I'm going to talk about and hopefully get you excited about using some of these resources. So I know, Jessica and I have worked together for many, many years now, and she did some work for a group of new states that we, through ISOC, were mentoring. And I asked her to come and talk about recruiting and how you can really think about providing some initial services. And it's really great that she's asking me to do the same for you all. But she shared some of these slides with us, and I loved them so much because so often we hear there's not enough time, we don't have the skills, my state only wants me to recruit and not provide services. So there's lots of reasons why not to do these beginning services, but I want to talk to you about why to do them. Obviously, we know recruiters, you're essential to success within the migrant education programs. And you are the first person our families and students see. So the relationships you set really help set the tone for what they expect from the program. We know that recruiters can not only do IDNR, but begin the steps to providing services. These services should be high quality. So what does that mean? What's a service? I think we can all throw out some things, but we want to make sure directly benefits a migratory child, addresses a need consistent with your state's CNA and SDP, the comprehensive needs assessment, and the service delivery plan. It's grounded in based in research. Hi, whoever that is, would you mind muting yourself? It's pretty loud. Thank you. Okay, so if you have a question, unmute yourself, pop in. But if you're taking a call, make sure you're muted. So we want to make sure that any services are designed to really help the program meet its measurable outcomes. So what does all that mean? Basically, we want to make sure that we're doing more than just handing out a backpack. So handing out leaflets to migrant families on available reading programs as part of an effort to increase reading skills technically does not constitute a service. It's allowable. It's a great way to work with families and support them, but it's technically not an allowable service. So we want to make sure that the services that you provide are of sufficient intensity, that they're grounded in scientifically research-based evidence, and we're talking about what works for reading and math. And the resources I'm going to show you today are highly targeted towards reading comprehension and vocabulary. And so we're talking about looking at these services as a way to deliver a beginning reading service. And we'll talk with you about what that means. So we know we want to remember that a service addresses and helps us understand what needs our students and families have. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. Does the student have a complete needs assessment profile? If you don't have access to the OSY profile, it is on our website. You certainly can use it. Many states have adapted it over the years, but we also have created a secondary at-risk profile that our states are piloting this summer. So that will be up on the website very soon. And then finally, do you work on your own? Are you responsible for both recruitment and services, or do you partner with a direct service provider in your state? And I think this is going to be really important as we go through and really focus on how to do this and what to use. So for those of you who don't know, as I mentioned, we're ISOC. We're an 18-member consortium incentive grant, similar to IDRC. Kansas is our lead state. And essentially, our job is to assist states to expand their capacity at the state and local level to support the success of out-of-school youth and migratory secondary students who are at risk of dropping out of high school. So if you happen to see your state here and you haven't heard of us or don't know what resources are available, reach out to me or someone within your state. So our goal is to increase, as I mentioned, state and staff capacity, as well as capability to provide instruction. We want to focus on improving the educational attainment of OSY and secondary students at risk of dropping out. Because we know only 1% of OSY receive a high school equivalency diploma while with the migrant education program. We know that 45% of secondary migratory students are at risk of dropping out. And we know the barriers that exist. The barriers to education that exist include limited English skills and flexible work schedules, especially when we're talking and working with our OSY, homelessness, absence of a parent or guardian, limited prior schooling, and high school mobility with substantial educational interruptions. We also know that our OSY must work to support themselves and their families, and traditional pathways to a diploma are oftentimes not practical. And the other piece I want to emphasize is we know research makes it clear that personal wellness and mental health have a direct impact on educational opportunity and attainment for our youth. And so we have some resources there too. Consuelo, I am sure Jessica is going to send out a copy of the recording and you will have access to the PowerPoint as well. Okay. So I always like to start out with what I call the big questions. And I think we're not going to actually have time to answer these, but I think it's really important. And if you can, I would take a picture of this slide because I think these are the questions you need to really focus on in your programs and in your state. How does my program match the resources available with specific OSY and secondary youth needs and goals? How can service providers and recruiters instruct OSY and secondary youth in ways that are purposeful, engaging, and productive? And then how do we track progress and plan for their next steps towards success? And then finally, what resources are available to support OSY and secondary youth within your state? So I love to share success stories because we know it's not easy to find OSY, to connect with them, to communicate with them, and to serve them. But because of this uncertainty and this difficult part of the job, we know the victories that you have with students are really that much. Thanks. If you have a question, do you have a question? Okay, if you have a question and you're having problems with your audio, just type it in the chat. Okay, so I wanted to share with you one of our success stories. This is a student, in his own words, Luis said, "No one can imagine how hard it is until you live it. In addition to the new language, you face a different environment, different situations, and different people. It's impossible to explain into words. It requires much effort and dedication to adapt to a new life. The migrant program support and guidance encouraged me to not fail, but take advantage. And I love that, to not fail, but take advantage. So remember that as we keep moving. So and so often I used to start my sessions with a conversation about what are the challenges. We all know the challenges right now. We are living it. I mean, the last 2.5 years, we have been faced with numerous challenges. And now we hear about monkeypox in the news. I can't even deal. So I don't want to focus on the challenges right now. I want to focus on you all and really hear from you in the chat box. I want to hear from as many of you as possible. So quickly, write out just one strength that you have when recruiting and providing services to migratory students and families. Let's hear from all of you. So in the chat, just type, thank you, easily accessible. That's important, that's crucial. Keep going. Persistence, yes. Caring, my greatest streak is my stubborn streak. I like you, Bridget. Yes, woman after my own heart. I always say I'm tenacious. Come on, who else? What's your strengths? Flexible and adaptable. Wow, having great communication with parents. Relationships, yes. Empathy, sympathy, persistence, caring. I can pull their stories out of them. Oh, Nora, that's awesome. Helping. Utilizing different forms of communication with students. Yes. Awesome. Now you're going so fast, I can't even keep up. Humbleness, patience, caring. Familiar face. Great listener. Bianca, thank you. Okay, one or two more. Connections, empowering. I love this. Thank you so much. Building trust, absolutely. These are all critical, right? But if you don't have, on the flip side, we have strong recruiting and we have all these wonderful qualities that you are bringing. But if you don't have quality services, you're going to lose. It's the other half of the coin, right? So what does that mean for us? When I start thinking about this, I really think about this process. We identify and recruit migratory students. Then we analyze that students' needs assessment data, right? We want to then look at matching instructional resources to needs, checking for understanding, and evaluating what works. And unfortunately, I won't be able to talk about all of this, but I want you to keep this in mind as we are moving forward, because these are easy things to do. So when we look at this, I always like to think, and I ask this question a lot, and it's really hypothetical, but what can we do for the most marginalized student population in the US? We can find them, right? We can help them articulate their goals, and we can provide them with the tools and resources to accomplish those goals. How powerful is that? So what do we need to consider as we assist students on their journeys? How can we pave the path for success? Because I always like to say we're one stop on their journey, right? So how do we help pave that path? Pave the path. Well, as I mentioned before, we actually utilize data. We look at their profile data and we figure out how do we support them. We look at having a clear understanding of our role in supporting students instructionally, and we have the tools to assist them. We also here want to, oops, I went too far. We want to make sure that we take time for our own professional learning and make it a priority. I am so thrilled that so many people are attending not just this session, but the entire Summer Institute, because this is what's important, making it a priority, taking that time, and then looking at, we have some new tools coming out this summer that you can easily adapt and use. And one is our Pathways for Success. We are going to have an instructor manual out this summer and student manuals shortly, but it really helps pave the path for students to understand from their instructors, how do I achieve, do I want to get my credentials? Do I want to get my high school diploma? Do I want to get my high set or high school equivalency diploma? And what does that actually take? I'm going to talk about the student portal in a little bit, and then thinking about career awareness and goal setting, because sometimes we have students who really want to be entrepreneurs, right? We know a lot of kids who have started their own businesses. How do we help them? How do we provide some support for that? And so we're going to be taking a look at entrepreneurship and career pathways as well. But I wanted to mention, and I'm not going to go into this, once I get into the website, I'll show you where everything is, but we have spent several years developing a lot of professional learning. So everything on our provider portal is all designed for you to go through and access on your own and learn on your own. Everything from one-on-one instruction to identifying the needs of OSY, working with language learners, using differentiation, growth mindset. I think we all need that. Relationship building. And the thing that I want you to know is every time it says OSY in front of something or within the title, you can simply remove that. All of these can be used with any migrant student, so anything. Okay, so what else did I want to show you? I am going to take you to the website because we have a resource catalog that's really awesome and cool. We have lesson plans, and I will show you those, but I want to start with this because I realize I could talk for a really long time about all of this, but I don't want to run out of time. So what is one of your biggest issues when you attempt to conduct a beginning service? If you want to unmute yourselves, go ahead. Or just throw it in the chat. What is one of the biggest issues? Or maybe issues is too strong. Maybe it's a concern.
For students who wish to continue with their high school education, they can't find the time to take classes that are scheduled in the evening.
Right. So it's not just your issue with time, right, as a recruiter, but it's their issue with time. So we have something for you. This was designed very specifically for out-of-school youth, and it was because recruiters around the country said, we don't have time. So we developed some lessons that are called STAT, short, targeted, and timely. So we wanted to make sure, sorry, I can't get the chat open now. Okay. Oh yeah, that's true. We know that. Oh, I love that, Nora. Teach them how to build a foundation under their dreams with clear and practical steps. Absolutely. Students don't qualify for some students. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Okay, so back to short, targeted, and timely. These lessons were designed to address the limited instructional time that's often the reality for OSY recruiters and service providers. They're practical and relevant to the needs and interests of OSY. We asked, we didn't just create these lessons. We talked to youth around the country. We talked to service providers. They're adaptable to any setting, in a classroom, in the field, literally out in the field. They're longer or shorter depending upon what you have available in regards to time. Digital and print materials, you can do it individually, small group, large group, we have got it covered. So everything is in a standardized format, and I'll show you via the lesson plan because we tell you exactly what to do and we show you. Targeted vocabulary, interactive activities. Remember, we really want to focus in on reading. So we have targeted vocabulary. We spend quite a lot of time on vocabulary and comprehension. We have pre and post tests because not only do we want to access prior knowledge, we want to know what the students know and are able to do, right? But we also want to have a post test that shows us, did they learn what we were trying to teach them? So we want to check for student understanding. I just want to talk about this a little bit, and then actually, I think I'm going to jump to the website. So bear with me for one moment while I do that. Okay, so let me share my screen again. Okay, so if you have not been to the website, can everybody see the website, correct? Okay. Yes, thank you. All right, so we're going to go under, if you have not been to the website, I'm just going to very quickly show you something. Remember I mentioned that catalog? This is so cool. Click on it. It's hyperlinked to every single resource. So if you get lost in our website, which I hope you don't do, download this. It will take you where you need to go. Okay. So right here, you go under instructional resources. And then you're just going to go down to where it says life skills and stat lessons. There's actually 2 access points. We also have stat lessons listed under English language learning resources. So I'm going to get you in here. Right now, we have these lessons. We have 5 different lessons. So we have at work, hand washing, following directions, fast food is our newest, and staying in the hotel is those 2 are our latest lessons, which I'll get into in a minute. But I want to show you at work. And I mentioned a lesson plan, right? So this is awesome because starts out, we have a lesson duration there of 30 to 40 minutes. That's in total. So you can take pieces as you want. So we have the objectives listed. Students will be able to use targeted vocabulary related to work. They'll be able to match words with the correct image, and they'll be able to repeat commonly used phrase. Oh yes, Leslie, any of the resources available here are all free. Go in, use them, please. That's why they're there. So if you keep going down here, you'll see we listed the I can statements. For students, I can use targeted vocabulary related to work. So we want to make sure that they understand that. I put the link in the chat box earlier, but it is simply osYmigrant.org. Okay, so we have here under materials needed. Everything you need is here. Click on it. Remember how I told you if students don't have access to the website, you can also print things. So let's just go here for a minute. So this, I don't know if you can see it or not. This is a really cool worksheet because it includes pronunciation in English, in Spanish, and then the image. So you would go through, and the objectives are at the top. Learn at least 10 vocabulary words to use at work. Thanks, Nora, for putting that up there. So let me show you some other fun things. Actually, let's do the pre-test together. You guys want to unmute yourselves? And we're going to go through this. Are you ready?
Great.
Which is something you can wear when working outside?
A hat.
Excellent. Which is an object you can use when you need a drink?
Water cooler.
Water cooler. Which is a tool you can use to work?
Shovel.
Gloves.
Shovel. Yeah, that one's a little confusing. I'll give you that one. I had somebody want to argue with me, so I'll take it. Which do you use to protect yourself from the sun?
Sunscreen.
Excellent. And then what is this a photo of?
Get a hose.
A hose. Excellent. Okay, now mute yourselves really fast. And then I'm going to show you the post test. The post test obviously has the same questions, right? Because after you've taught the vocabulary, played a few games, we want to make sure that the students understand the English words. Then there's a bonus question. On our other life skills pre and post assessments, the post assessment always has a written 6th question because we wanted students to practice writing. This one you don't have to, but you certainly can. We left that kind of open. But let me show you one more thing here, and then I'll go to the newer ones. Okay. After you go through the materials listed, if you've not ever used any Quizlet or Edpuzzle, I'm going to show you because students no matter their age like this. They really do. So I hate the fact that we can't get rid of these ads, so kind of just do that. But we have flashcards. And you can get them. There's the definition, etc. Then we have other areas. There's a test, there's spelling, there's writing. But this is what they really like. They like to play. Okay, wait, why is it not working? There we go. Games. And this game is timed, as you can see over here, and you just want to match up. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you can have students compete against each other. You can have, compete against you, however you want. You can give a little prize if you choose, but there are those. And then, oh, don't know why that's not coming up right now. Sorry. I also wanted to show you Edpuzzle. If you haven't used Edpuzzle before, it's really fun. It allows you to take a video and insert questions. So this video is of actual students, and you'll see at the bottom, sorry, right down here, every time you see a dot, that's where there's a question. So let's just play a little. So he says, put on the, if you want to unmute yourself and answer it. If you couldn't hear, he said hat. So if I got that correct, it will allow me to go to the next question. So it'll allow me to keep watching the video. So then the students listened to him and they put on the hats. And they had really a lot of fun doing this. The next one, because I was talking too loud, is put on the gloves. So you can just see they're having a lot of fun doing that. And I just loved the video because the students had a lot of fun. So let me go back to my PowerPoint. Okay. Any questions about that? So as I mentioned, we have these lessons: at work, hand washing, fast food, following directions, and staying in a hotel. We are actually going to have staying in a hotel part 1 and part 2. Now, we got a ton of requests to design a lesson around ordering at a fast food restaurant. We had a lot of student requests, and it revolved from specific food chains to more generic content, so it could be widely used and adapted as necessary. And I apologize, I'm losing my voice. But the same format, we have the objectives, the I can statements, the targeted vocabulary, etc. We have virtual activities or in-person activities. Then we have extension activities, some next step student reinforcement, and instructor reflection, which I really liked. So we'll get into a little bit about this. So there's that same pronunciation guide I showed you: English, Spanish, pronunciation in English, and then the image. We have an answer key, we have a Quizlet, and we have an Edpuzzle in video link, and then the pre and post assessments. I don't have time to go through everything, I'm sorry. Then we have the Quizlet, again, with the vocabulary. Okay. We also have role-playing activities, which are different. And can you see my PowerPoint? Thank you. Okay, so I'm not going to do this, but it is really fun to also introduce a language. We did this as an activity a few weeks ago, and we introduced, was Afrikaans, and it was a language that most people are not familiar with, and we added that in to this, just so also we could put people, who was the person who said you need to have empathy, so putting them in the students' positions as well. We also have, as I mentioned, staying in a hotel, parts 1 and 2. We split this. This is a little bit longer lesson, but we know we have a lot of out-of-school youth in states who are living in hotels and motels, and they're very unfamiliar. Sometimes things break in their room, or they don't know how to communicate what they need. We really wanted to keep this short and targeted, so that's why we split it into 2 lessons. But again, the same thing, we have an Edpuzzle video, we have role playing again, and this is where you can have lots of fun with the role playing activities. And we encourage you to use these lessons because they're really easy. We've taken the guesswork out of it for you. We, after last summer with the really excessive heat, we realized we needed to expand. We have a life skills lesson on getting sick from heat, but we really wanted to help our students, particularly those working out in the fields, that heat stress is a real issue. And so this one is almost finished and it will be up on the website soon. The other thing, if you're not familiar with ISOCI, we have a lot of COVID-19 resources. We have life skills lessons with videos. We've divided into 2 lessons because we try to keep it continuously updated. As you can imagine, that has been very hard. So lesson 2 is about vaccines, safety, rights to work, etc. And we added in the booster. So really making sure our students and families understand where we are in regard to COVID-19 and have, this is all based on the CDC information. Okay, so I talked about where and how to get them. So I want to give you about 2 minutes. I was going to put you in breakout rooms, but I think we'll do this because it's just 1 or 2 minutes. I want to focus in on this. I'd like you to go to the website, osymigrant.org, and I would like you to find these stat lessons. If you recall, okay, if you recall, we'll go here. Why did it pause? Okay, so I want to pull up the website. I'm sorry. Go to osymigrant.org, and then you're going to go here under instructional resources, click on stat. I want you to explore something other than the at work that I showed you. Go to the lesson plan, first of all, and I would like you to explore the stat lessons for 1 minute and take a look at one activity. And then I want you to come back and I'm just going to ask you to share how you would do that activity with students at the time of as a beginning service when recruiting. So let's take a minute, everybody go to the website and let's take a look at a stat lesson. Okay. Can you get into the website? Following directions is a fun one too, because part of the directions is learning a dance, the cha-cha slide. Just open one of them up and take a look. So I want you to familiarize yourself with it. Okay, 1 more minute and then we're going to come back together. Okay, I realize that was really fast. So I'm just going to ask one of you, 1 or 2 of you, if you would unmute and share what you think you would use. Okay, somebody is in the chat. I use more time. I know, I'm sorry.
This is Bridget. I like the Finanza. I went to that unit and
Okay.
thinking about working with my high school kids, the
Yep.
at-risk kids, that way, using that in small group sessions. I meet with them, anyway. So that would be a great little lesson for us to do with the checking account piece for specifically,
Sure.
having some fake checks and letting them understand the concept of money going in has to be there before you can go out. All that. Just
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, okay, thank you. Yep, Nora said looking at addresses, huge for a recruiter, absolutely. Hand washing, yep, that's a really good one. Okay, now, thank you for that because there's so many other resources that I don't have time to share with you all. Yep, oh, the voice recording vocabulary, yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Thank you, Ruby. So I want to take you here. So I mentioned the stat lessons are in 2 places, but I want to focus on a new, why will this not work for me? Sorry, there we go. English for daily life. I just want to share this with you really fast. Banking in numbers is going to be revised very shortly. So we have everything is centered around understanding what the requirements are in the US, but we also added, so it's not just the Finanza stuff, but we also added information about cryptocurrency, online banking platforms and how to use them, how to be careful for scams. So that's going to all be in this new format. So you see under grocery stores and shopping and emergencies, it says updated format. I just want to show you very quickly because I want to talk about the student portal and I don't have much time left, but this is something that also can be used in short spurts for you. I don't want to scare you, but what we did is we actually created a very significant 4-week lesson plan. You don't have to use this, but you know what? It does everything for you. It outlines everything, your goals, what's suggested, what's the progression of topics within the shopping lesson over a 4-week period. And then we break it down by week, by day. So, and it's all hyperlinked. So it takes you exactly to where you need to go. This is pretty big. Again, it's about 80, I thought it was like over 100 pages. So don't get upset about that one. It's there and it's good stuff, but we also have it broken out by weeks and by days, or you don't have to even do that. You can just go and say, you know what? I really want to look at, let's look at identify the groceries. It has vocabulary lists. There are student activities, teacher activities, paper flashcards for those without internet access, online, vocabulary worksheets. Then we have all kinds of video comprehension activities. So we have ed puzzles, Kia that students would answer. And then you go down into, let's look at healthy shopping. So let's go to the Kia. So we're just going to start this. And you will listen to the video and then you answer the questions. So it's really cool. There you go. See, I would use the fast food stat lesson. Yes, I love it. Your local food bank can be a great partner for this kind of lesson on, oh, that's a brilliant idea, Allison. And then I've even had some folks do a cooking activity. So one day they go to the store, they introduce some of these concepts, then they go to the store and they think about budgeting, how much money you need for shopping. Yeah, it is great for the parents too. And then you dig in here, but it can be as intensive as you want or as brief as you want, but you're delivering a high quality service. So I realize that was really quick over this, but I want to also say, during the height of the pandemic, and I think this is probably one of the things that was very concerning to me, under emergencies, sorry, I need to move this bar, it's not cooperating. So if you go under emergencies, you will see provide essential information. describing the condition, where and when it happened, emergency situation aid. So we had, because we were able to track this, we had over 1,000 students access how to call 911 because we have videos on how to do that. And you don't realize how much this information is needed. And so we tried to provide it as clear and concisely as possible. So I encourage you, I know it looks a little intimidating, but it's really not. This also has the lesson plan with it. So please go in, kind of play around with it. And I love how you're already thinking about integration, which is awesome. So let me pull back up. I had a couple other things I did want to show you from my PowerPoint. Okay. And I think you all can see that. So talked about the stat lessons and then English for daily life. One thing, yeah, here we go. So there are other resources on the website that you can have students download. They're, going to the school. We have some older pieces that are all audio enhancements so they can download audio files onto their phones. So if you did, something with grocery shopping, then you could have them, go to the audio resources and download these on their phone using money, going to the store. They're really good, quick, easy to do. So I encourage you to kind of look and play around with as much as you can. The last thing I wanted to share, and I do want to leave a little bit of time for questions, is about our student portal. I am so excited about announcing this. So for many years, we've had this idea of creating a true portal, not just a list of websites, but a portal where students can go and access actual instructional materials and interact with them. So the portal door, we've been sending out announcements. And if you do not receive our announcements, email me. I'll give you my email at the end. Email me and we'll get you on our list. The portal door is going to open on June 2nd. We will be having a webinar to show you how to use it with students. So the plan is when we create any new products, we create the products for instructors, service providers, and recruiters, and then we're going to modify them for use on the portal where students can interact more directly with them. The great thing about the portal is when you access it, a student can click on the button, see right here, and any text will show up in whatever language they need. So it's design responsive. And please note, I know you're probably thinking, wow, those graphics are so boring, but we did that very, very purposefully. We did not, we know students everybody has a phone, but sometimes you don't have as much bandwidth as needed. And so we wanted to make sure that we weren't eating up a lot of their phone's bandwidth by making them download a lot of graphics. So we kept everything very, very simple in our design, very purposefully. The content initially, what we have is based on the materials that are most used on our website. That would be the stat lessons, the COVID-19 information. We are going to have a catalog of best practice lessons. We are also going to offer live lessons, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and then we will have a Google Classroom. So the purpose essentially is for immediate access to these instructional enhancements. This is not meant for you to say, oh, go to the portal, and that counts as a service. This is not meant to be all your students do, but it's designed to support high quality instruction or to introduce key concepts followed by direct instruction. So we know there's going to be a tutorial on how to set up a Gmail account for students to actually enter the Google Classrooms. We know that they will have access to additional topic related materials. So the example there, which I love, is a secondary student is preparing for their first job interview. There will be links such as questions that might be asked at the interview and how to tie a tie, just as an example. We're talking about having a Padlet page, using Edpuzzle and Kia and all those tools. And the great thing about this is we're using even cooler tools like Flipgrid, but we have videos for students to know how to use the tools. And we're going to be sharing those with our instructors as we get close to opening, as I said, opening the portal door. So I think I covered a lot of this. We know, of course, that students might not necessarily have access 24/7 to the internet, but we know a lot of kids do. And so we wanted to make sure that they have internet access to 24/7 to current ISOC materials and resources. We wanted to look at that, providing a collection of engaging interactive activities that will not only expand their learning, but we hope it's the hook that gets them in. We're going to provide both live and recorded lessons. Our first recorded lesson, we're hoping to have it be done by the end of June. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Kind of already introduced the concepts of the STAT lessons, but it's not going to be the lesson plans that you see. It's going to be extensions. So come and be very excited to see what we have. I mentioned COVID-19. We really want to keep our students safe and healthy during the pandemic. So we did think it important to include information about that. Talked about our first live lesson. This one, we are going to keep it to our participating states. So we're going to invite possibly 2 to 3 OSY from each participating state with a service provider. And we're going to keep it small just to make sure that it goes well. And then hopefully next year, we're going to look at expanding it and opening it to any OSY or any secondary student and really dig into reading and math content and also potentially do some regionally focused topics as well we are considering. Yeah, that's a really good question, Leslie, about connection issues with internet. Some of it can be downloaded, but some can't. And we haven't quite figured out what to do with, the pieces that can't be downloaded. So we're still kind of working out the kinks there, to be honest. We also, as I mentioned, will have the Google Classroom, and we've taken information from these top 5 used materials: safety, finance, community, English for daily life and health, and expanded them. We will have eventually we will have a place for our recorded lessons, for our recorded past live lessons. And we'll be including more information about digital literacy, career pathways. We've done some OSHA coursework with students. And then we're going to have an actual place to share success stories, which I think is so very important. And I think we have 5 up right now. We're hopefully getting more, but we wanted our students to talk about what the migrant program meant to them. And it's been very awe-inspiring and really powerful. And we believe by hearing real student voices that that's going to engage and encourage other students to continue. I did want to show you, so this is what the Google Classroom is going to look like, and the topic is a healthy home. So let me see if I can get this to play. Here we go. And this, I think, is important because so often we hear, well, students don't have a Google account and getting Gmail, et cetera. So I just wanted you to hear a little bit about the whys behind this.
So as you may have noticed, or maybe not noticed, as Susanna was clicking into the tab, the one requirement that will be on our students to get into this Google Classroom coursework is that they will need to have a Google account. Travis and I have resources on how to do that in both English and Spanish, with some of our translation tips and resources that we'll have should be available for our students that speak different languages. And if not, then we can work together. You can take our Spanish or English and just translate it into a new language. If you need access to those original documents, just let me know. And to requirement that they'll have a Google account. I know that some may look at that as a roadblock. I look at it as a chance for that student to join the 21st century. I don't mean that to sound harsh, but in creating that Google account, they then have an email that they could use to sign up for other things, sign up for some of the skills that we would be going through in some of the other lessons, like online banking is going to require an email account. So creating that Google account gives them that foundation to do some of the other life skills that we'll be teaching them how to do throughout other lessons. So it's free. There's no catch in doing that. They just need to create that Google account. Once that's created, they can join this classroom. And here's that message board that I was discussing. So, right now we have it set up where this ISOC migrant account is kind of the teacher, if you will, but we can add co-teachers to this as needed. And obviously we would need to provide some training at that point. But this is that place where as soon as the student joins in on this piece, they have the ability to communicate with the class as well. So posting questions, and then that's where a peer-to-peer interaction could be happening where one student may log in and see a question from a brand new student.
Okay, I'm going to stop just because we don't have a lot of time. So I just wanted you to kind of get a taste of all that. And Nora, I hope everyone saw that. Yes, you're right. It's a really good chance to talk about professional looking email. Yes, absolutely. How many times do we see some that aren't, even from adults? So there you go. Okay, the last thing I want to do is we're just going to go through this. I was going to break you into groups and everything, but we don't have a lot of time left. So I'm going to throw out a scenario and I'm going to ask you to unmute yourselves and just tell me, what resource would you use? And it could be one of our resources, it could be something from IDRC or something that you've used and you want to share. So scenario one, you have a crew of watermelon cutters and packers. They'll be in your region for a maximum of 3 to 4 weeks. A few of them have expressed a little bit of interest in learning some basic English phrases, especially for groceries and food. So what would you do? You better get this one. Don't be shy. A stat lesson, yes, but what else? There was a whole section on grocery stores, right? Called, does anybody remember what it was called? English for daily life, yes. Okay, print out a basic worksheet for groceries, right? And you could do that from the ISOC website on English for daily life. All right, scenario two. There are 2 young women living at a motel for the fall squash season. They told you they have some ideas for their future, but are unsure of how to go about it or where to begin. So what would you do? Hotel part 1 and 2. Yes, thank you. Look at career websites with them and talk about practical steps. Yes, our career toolkit, when it comes out, is going to be a great resource for you. It'll be out in early June, I guess it already is late May. So early June. And we also have an entire instructor's manual and student guide on goal setting. You could also do budgeting with them. Look at Finanza. There's lots of really cool things you could do. Awesome. Okay, last one. Scenario 3. We come across a 19-year-old who's working in an area where there are no local programs. He plans on staying in the area if he can find a stable job. He isn't sure what he's interested in doing, but he was a 10th grader in high school in the US last year, but didn't finish because he moved and is now not allowed to enroll because he's too old. Let's not focus on that last part of the question because that is very, very annoying to me. But what would you do for this student? The student portal, GED, work on goal setting, enroll in a high step. Oh, you guys are doing great. Yes. Refer them to a HAP program. Awesome. Yes. There's also another resource called Preparing for College, which isn't just about preparing for college, but it talks you through some goal setting activities, looking at careers, etc. So there's some really good lessons there. Yep, he could be a really good candidate for a GED or a high school equivalency diploma. Absolutely. We also have some lessons on our site that are pre-GED if he needs to look at some skill gaps in reading and math. Yes, excellent. You did so well. Thank you. Okay, we're going to skip that one because I just have a few minutes left and I just wanted to open it up. Do you have questions for me?
I have a question.
Sure.
So originally at the beginning, you said if you see your state, then just send me an email. I didn't see my state. Can I still send you an email?
Anyone can email me at any time. Where are you from?
North Carolina.
North Carolina is in the consortium. Yes, absolutely. But yeah, you can email me at any time. And let me just tell you right now, it's super easy. I think it's on my last slide, but it's just my full name, Tracy Kalech, and I'll show you how to, I'll go there right now. Tracy Kalech at Gmail. So yeah, absolutely. Email me any questions, any support, anything you need. I'm more than happy to help. So what other questions?
And this is Roman from North Carolina also.
Hey.
Hey, so the lessons you said live, how will we be able to know like when?
I will tell you. Okay, so how that will work is I will be in contact with your state director of migrant ed, and we'll work through. He'll be in contact. He or she will be in contact with service providers to recommend 2 to 3 students to participate. And then we'll get those students registered, and then we'll work directly with the service providers for those students who can provide support if they have problems logging into Zoom, et cetera, because it will be over Zoom. So yes, but then from that point forward, when we open it up to anybody, we will, that's why it's so important I have all your email addresses. So when we send out our big messages, I think right now we send them out to 400 or 500 people. So let's have you all get on it. You'll be able to directly access it. And at that point, if it gets too large, we might have to offer more than one date. So yes.
How do you get our addresses? I mean, our email addresses?
You're going to email me.
Oh, I got you. Thanks.
Yep. Email me and just say you want to receive our ISOC messages, and I'll get you on that list.
Thanks.
Sure. Okay. Other questions? Well, I thank you so very much for your time. And I would just love to hear from you, not just for how we can support you, but also when you use the materials, I would love to know how it goes. How did teaching the stat lesson go? Are there other topics you think we need to use? And again, my email's on the screen right now, tracykalech@gmail.com. So just let me know. I had a lot of fun today. I thank you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the Summer Institute. Take care, everybody.